Hello, everybody. We are the Geeks and Degenerates. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Anyway, in order to celebrate the upcoming Final Reckoning, the last Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, we shall enter the world.
Doing James Bond?
Yeah, we're entering the world of spies and covert government operations.
Okay,
Yeah.
alright. I wasn't informed with the theme of the week.
I mean, fair enough. But yeah, we enter the world of spies and deception, starting with good old James Bond, the Pierce Brosnan one for now. I mean, we can go back and forward whenever, but for now, since it's the 30th anniversary of GoldenEye, it seems like the best time to talk about it. Was this your first Bond?
Yes, it was. I feel like every 90s kid, even though people say I don't count because I'm born in 98, like Pierce Brosnan James Bond was their James Bond. And yeah, like before Daniel Craig, all I knew who James Bond was pretty much the guy from Mamma Mia.
Yeah. He was the Bond of my time growing up, but I never really got to watch him until after I watched Skyfall, funny enough. Because I was like, I should go back since there's like 700 guys who were James Bond. So
Dude, yeah. Dude, I think there was like 50 plus movies already of like James Bond.
yeah.
Like of course one with Sean Connery, Roger Moore, many others, George Clooney. I remember my dad having like this Chinese DVD with all of the 50 movies.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, fuck yeah. So I remember one like week we just kept binge watching James Bond.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we got to Pierce Brosnan before we got to Daniel Craig.
Yeah. But yeah, like Daniel Craig, this is also directed by the guy who did Daniel Craig's first movie, Bond, Casino Royale, Martin Campbell. He's both the director of this and Casino Royale, and he was the first James Bond director, to introduce the first female M, which we now know as Judi Dench.
Yeah, I feel that's why I was a little bit confused. I was like, is this world canon? I was like, I completely forgot name Judi Dench was M here, but she was also M in around Skyfall before Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah. Like, I believe the reason for her casting is because at the same time MI6 really got a female director for the first time, so the casting was like an informed decision.
Alright.
But going to Bond himself, I do think Pierce Brosnan is all the typical Bond you expect from James Bond. Like, Daniel Craig is too much of an assassin and a blunt instrument. Well, this one
he's like, I don't like jokes. He's that guy.
Yeah. Pierce Brosnan is suave. He's a gentleman, even though M does call him out for being a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. I'm like, you have a point. Like from the beginning with his joyride with that one lady. I'm like,
Yeah. And we also get a little bit of a pretty cool side character here, Sean Bean. Sadly, yes, as his fate in the film industry, he dies here too.
Yeah.
Because he's the villain.
Yeah, you can see where Skyfall got its inspiration from this rogue MI6 agent. Now we get, before Javier Bardem, we get Sean Bean as Alec Trevelyan, as this guy who is, the plot is kind of outdated when you consider like it is in the 90s, but that's after the Cold War. So him teaming up with the Russians for like world domination, you're like, I think you're a decade of late, Bond. But
I was like, the superpower gone.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, well, 30 years later, who could have predicted, events to unfold the way it does? But yeah, we also get Thank Me Jensen as Xenia, the lady with literal killer thighs. I'm like, wow, it's an interesting superpower.
I was wondering the whole time. I was like, what is she doing to them? Like that one ship captain who was just like, I can't breathe. I was like, she got his cock.
I'm like,
and she was a little too rough in the sack. So
yeah. Like she tries to kill Bond in the
The sauna room.
yeah, yeah.
I found this entire scene funny because like clearly she's very turned on with this entire thing.
Yeah.
She's clearly like somewhat of a. Was she a massage? Was this a masochist?
Yeah. Masochist
Sadist.
means you sadist. Yeah,
Sadist.
sadist.
Yeah. So like Bond had to like just drop her on the sauna, just like burn her ass and then just like flip her over.
Yeah. She really
That shit
like,
was so funny.
she really like seeing the light fade from your eyes as you get squeezed between her thighs. You're like, yeah, you are a sadist, Jesus Christ. I love she gets pleasure out of it too, and you're like, alright.
Yeah. By the way, the entire plot of this is that, not gonna lie, this is my first time rewatching James Bond after like God knows how many years. This James Bond, GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I forgot GoldenEye was a satellite. I thought it was a villain with a golden eye, or his moniker is like, you know how like Goldfinger is like he paints women gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a shtick that he has a golden eye, but no. It's a satellite that it's pretty much a EMP sniper.
Yeah.
Like you could just disrupt any electronic device
From
with
wherever.
your own choosing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that seems powerful. Doesn't sound too.
Over the top.
Yeah, you know, like it's not like how they're like, there's this virus that we're gonna spread out into the world
Yeah.
that will kill 80%. Yeah, I'm like, oh, but yeah,
Yeah.
and also I really thought this was the one with the golden gun,
No, that's another Bond. But yeah,
right?
even Bond himself calls out Alec Trevelyan. He's like, at the end of the day, you're just a thief. You just want all the money in the world. You're not this, like big super villain that has a plot that can destroy everybody. No, you just want your own stack of money and your own power, and that's about it. That's all you wanted. And like they have a grudge against the British government because way back in World War II, this the British betrayed their people, the Cossacks, and like they left them to die. So this is all a grudge that's heading towards this one like climax, and you're like, that's an interesting plot. They like. I also love the action here, like the one big tank chase scene leading towards the train scene. I was like, that's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, even though it is in the 90s, like the choreography here, it's pretty great. It's great to see Bond not be a subtle assassin, and like drive a fucking tank.
That's one thing I kind of liked about this Bond. Yes, I do like a whole realistic kind of espionage where they really have to be covert.
Yeah.
They really have to kind of not leave a trace. Here, it's just guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
Like, the fucking one-liners. I got too used to Daniel Craig that I forgot this is what Bond we used to be.
Yeah.
Where it's just quips after quips. The dude kisses one woman and then kisses another.
Yeah.
And he's cool with it. I'm just like, right, this is not the existential Bond.
Yeah. this is the, like, suave, cool Bond, not Mr. I'm an assassin. I don't give a damn about your feelings. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You're like, but that's what I do like Daniel Craig. For me, he is my favorite Bond.
Same here. But
yeah, that and Roger Moore. But like, yeah, there's kind of just like a little bit of a character when it comes to a movie where they're just like, yeah, he's an MI6 spy. Oh, cool. Is that a bomb pen?
All right. Like I love the over the top gadgets, like the pen, the wheelchair, and like the car, the classic car that we all got used to. I think it's really until like the last movie of Daniel Craig that we saw the car really in action too, if my memory serves right. Here we get to see the car have a lot of action. Like some.
We do see like the Aston at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then we never see it again, and then it gets replaced by a Z3 BMW, and I'm just like, this is a first.
Right.
I was like, well, it's not the first time that like a Bond movie has used a different car, but it's just that usually he comes out with an Aston.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Any other
But
car
here it's a
you're like,
BMW, so I was like, what?
any other car you're like, what is that? I'm not used to this. I'm going to
Yeah.
shock, and my mind's losing it. Like, since this was like the first Bond in the '90s or like the first Bond movie in a while, since like
Mm.
Timothy Dalton, like a lot of major names were attached to this. Like other aside from Pierce Brosnan, like Liam Neeson and Ralph Fiennes and Mel Gibson were considered for Bond. I can
No to Mel Gibson, yes to Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, he eventually, of course, became M for Daniel Craig's Bond. Um,
Yeah.
I also know that Alec Trevelyan was supposed to be played by Alec Rickman and Anthony Hopkins. So that would have been interesting to see.
Alan Rickman. God damn, that would have been cool.
Yeah, but Sean Bean does such a great job here. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I see you as this rogue MI6 agent that wants revenge or just wants all the money in the world. I want to say there's no annoying character, but the one guy who's just like, I'm a survivor kind of got on my nerves. Near the end, I'm like, can you please stop repeating the same line?
Like I am invincible,
Yeah.
and just gets doused with like liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, he was a bit annoying.
Yeah. And that one American, like, I wish I got to know more about him. I forget if he's in the sequels of Pierce Brosnan, but like, I can't remember for the life of me.
I'm not sure either. I don't know if he's like the Felix guy from Casino Royale, and then we see him in No Time to Die.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he was a little bit of like just the typical American. Didn't feel like a spy or anything.
Yeah.
Very. Oh, I'm like, yeah. It was so funny because like I know we're skipping towards the end, but like the helicopter drops them off after the villain the satellite thing blows up.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I thought you were gonna like bring in the cavalry, and then like they show off like the entire military force.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, I got your back. You're a little too late.
Yeah. The thing
The job's already done.
Yeah. We were arrested, almost killed, the thing already exploded. Where the fuck were you guys? You know,
Yeah.
I thought you were Navy SEALs, for fuck's sake.
And then like the American guy is just like, I told you I got your back. Anyway, job's done, boys. Let's go home. And I was like,
even the SEALs are not like, what do you mean job's done? We barely did anything. What? Also, the Bond girl is not that memorable in my opinion. Like, it's hard to compete against Eva Green in my opinion.
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Like I am kind of stuck in the Daniel Craig moment here, where it's just like, yeah, Eva Green was a pretty good Bond girl.
Yeah. Like, ever since that, everyone who came before or even after, like, pales in comparison. Because you're like, I think they did too much of a good job developing Vesper Lynn, and now we're like, no one will ever match up to Vesper Lynn ever. Eva Green forever.
Yeah, I mean that French girl, she's doing fine. It's just that, yeah, Eva Green was.
True.
I don't know.
Like,
She was the first.
yeah, same. But yeah, anything to add for GoldenEye?
Oh yeah, I like the like last fight that he has with Sean Bean.
Yeah.
I feel like that was really well choreographed. Like I didn't feel dizzy. I understood what was happening.
Yeah.
And just like the last line where he's just like, "For England, James," and he's like, "Nah,
For me.
for me."
Yeah.
And drops him. And what was even worse is that you just like when you see Sean Bean just like go splat, you see his legs go in every direction.
Yeah.
Just like, oh god.
Yeah. He somehow still survives that long enough to see the thing fall on top of him. You're like, well, I'm sure he felt every moment of that.
Yeah.
Couldn't feel his legs
yeah.
no more, but he felt that. Jesus Christ. But yeah. What would you rate GoldenEye?
I would rate GoldenEye like a solid 7.5. You know? Like, it's not the best Bond movie in my opinion. I do like Roger Moore's a little bit more. Yes, Pierce Brosnan is like my first. I think the one with Christopher Lee was my favorite one from this era.
Okay.
I forgot the name, but like, yeah, I remember that a little bit better. But a lot of things were a little bit forgettable. Yeah, Sean Bean was a pretty good villain, but you don't really see him all that much.
Yeah.
He's not like a lingering enemy like how Javier Bardem was.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry for comparing, but it's a Bond film. Um, yes, the Bond girl was kind of like
Forgettable.
dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little dry. Yeah, just like, all right, cool. He'll just move on to the next one.
All right.
But other than that, yeah, spy stuff, the action, the tank scene, the fighting, I just think they did pretty well. You
Yeah.
know, I love seeing Pierce Brosnan. I love seeing like the man just oozes James Bond.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he is the face I see when I say James Bond.
Yeah.
Other than, of course, Sean Connery. Yeah, the next person I see when you say James Bond is Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's still a good like spy movie. You know, it's a fun spy movie. It's not Skyfall. the like, it ain't that era of James Bond where it's like very covert, very tactical. Yes, everything's very realistic and high stakes.
Yeah.
Here it's just like, oh, okay, it's just another adventure with James Bond. It's kind of like a Tintin story.
Interesting comparison. I'll give this 8. I do like the direction. I do like the action. Pierce Brosnan is classic Bond in my opinion. Like, aside from Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and Timothy Dalton, and all the rest, but like all of them like are a clear picture of what people thought spies were or spies adventures were, until like we got to the 2000s where everything became a bit too gray for good old James Bond, and we became the blunt assassin. And like, oh, I get it. It's like how Batman used to be fun and campy until all the bullshit of the 2000s, and then we became the Dark Knight of the Christopher Nolan era. That makes sense. But I do love the action. I do love the story. I do like Sean Bean as the Alec Trevelyan, one of his many iconic roles, and I think this is a fun adventure. Like, as you said, it's really hard to compete since us in the 2000s and 2010s were spoiled by Casino Royale and Skyfall, but like, it still stands the test of time. I think 30 years onward, it's still a great fun adventure, at least. And like, yeah, interestingly enough, I know Amazon has the rights to James Bond now, and they have free reign. I just hope they don't do with the James Bond license what they did with Star Wars and Disney.
Agreed, but that girl is gone. I don't know if you heard.
The producer, the long time.
Yeah, she gone. I would say there is a show that I will recommend if you guys are into somewhat the James Bond-esque like TV series. Day of the Jackal. That thing is chef's kiss. It's on Max. And if they're gonna do, say, a James Bond TV series, I really hope they take a lot of notes from that show, because it's just, again, it's just chef's kiss. And hopefully we could do like a review on Day of the Jackal. There's like 2 movies and then a show.
All right. The ultimate question for you and to the audience watching: who would you like to see be the next James Bond?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Jesus Christ, that's a good answer. I don't know what I heard Josh O'Connor as a possible candidate, but I'm like, all right, sure, let's see what happens. Like,
Josh O'Connor?
Yeah, he's the rich guy from Challengers.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like,
why not?
He's
an up-and-coming star.
All the other choices in my head are, I'm like, that's a bit too old. Like Idris Elba and Henry Cavill. I'm like, damn, if it was 10 years ago, maybe then.
Well, I mean, you do get a glimpse of it from like that movie, Man from U.N.C.L.E. You do see Henry Cavill do a James Bond-esque kind of character. So I'm like,
well, I don't know if you've seen The Killer on Netflix, but I think Michael Fassbender can do a real good James Bond.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
But I think he is a little bit too old unless they go with like that kind of James Bond where he's already
experienced,
weathered, you know.
Yeah. But like, yeah, to the audience watching, who's your suggestion for James Bond? Whoever it is, comment down below. If you want to see more of us, please leave a like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok to see our best and funniest moments. Spotify to us on the go. And the VGM Zodas voices on TikTok and Answolf on Letterboxd. Where can you find you?
You can find me at JomJum_ on Instagram. It is my account.
And until the next one, we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.